Good morning, and thank you very much, members of the media, for being here. I appreciate it's a very busy day and weekend for you, and we thank you for the time you've dedicated to being here. My name is Imran Khan. I'm the Director of Public Information, and with me is, as you're aware, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. George Norton. I'll ask for us to observe the usual housekeeping protocols if you haven't done so already with regard to our mobile devices. As you're aware, there has been an issue that has dominated the headlines and has taken up much column space in the press, and it involves the storage of government medicine and medical supplies, and falls within the portfolio of the Minister of Public Health, Dr. George Norton. Today, Dr. Norton, having presented a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Barton Scotland, insisted on meeting with the press and, in your lingo, fronting up to you and dealing with the issue frontally. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Minister for insisting on engaging with the media so that he can, and the format for today's press conference will be that he will read a statement, and following that he'll take your questions. I know that you're very anxious to engage the Minister by asking questions, and I'll ask you when we get to that stage for you to also observe the usual protocols with regard to identifying yourself. Again, I thank the Minister for being here and for insisting on this engagement with the media, and I invite him now to read a brief statement. Dr. Norton.
Pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Khan. Before I read my statement, I would just like to thank the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Barton Scotland, for graciously receiving me this morning in his chambers. But also, I would like to thank His Excellency Brigadier David Granger, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, and colleagues, cabinet members, for the support they have shown to me, especially Minister of Natural Resources, Mr. Raphael Trotman, who chaired the Cabinet Review Subcommittee. I would also like to thank my family and friends and colleagues who have sent messages of support in what has been, to me, a most difficult time. And I genuinely and sincerely thank you, the media, for attending this conference and what you have done in my favor over the last few days. Now for my statement. On Monday, August 8, 2016, during consideration of the estimates in Financial Papers number 1 and 2 of 2016, I was questioned extensively by members of Parliament representing the opposition PPPC. In the process, I gave answers that were in some parts based on my personal knowledge and ability, and in other parts based on information and advice presented to me. Since August 8, 2016, I have come to the firm position that the answers given to two questions relating to the payment to New GPC Incorporation and the storage of drugs in the bond at 29 Sussex Street, Georgetown, were not accurate, as these were based on information supplied to me. In the circumstances, I wish to express my sincere and profound regret to His Excellency Brigadier David Granger, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Dr. Barton Scotland, CCH MP, Speaker of the National Assembly, Prime Minister, Mr. Moses Nagamoto, and my parliamentary colleagues of the APNU AFC, members of the parliamentary opposition, and all others who are present or able to observe the process of the consideration of the estimates relative to the approval of payments to new GPC Incorporated and Linden Holding Incorporated. As Minister of Public Health, I know that a high standard of duty and care is expected of me and the staff of the Ministry of Public Health. So I take full responsibility for this unfortunate episode and give my full commitment that it will not reoccur. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Norton. Thank you as well for the contrite nature of the statement. We will now move into taking questions, and I will take Gary, even that he had indicated first. Gary, just go ahead.
Gary Elias again, thanks. Sir, could you first of all say to the people of this country, why is an apology enough and why is your resignation not warranted?
I have been a healthcare giver for all of my professional life, which is around about 3 decades. Even in my recently acquired position of Minister of Health, Public Health, I continue to do so. I have admitted that I made a mistake of which I take full responsibility for. Assuring you that every effort will be made for this not to reoccur. And I'm still committed to offering the delivery of healthcare to the nation.
How is it you ensure that this will not reoccur? Because you're saying that the staff misled you, but I don't see any indication of any of your staff being reprimanded, dismissed, or such like.
If I might repeat, it says, I gave answers that were in some parts based on my personal knowledge and ability, and in other parts based on information and advice presented to me. Did not mention staff. What I would like, however, is to say in no uncertain terms that I have thousands of hard-working health service workers whose dedication is an untold story and one which easily goes unnoticed. I would speak proudly of their services. And as minister, I would say that I take the responsibility.
No, who gave the misleading advice?
Well, I don't think that this is a forum at which we will be speaking to professionals within the public health sector and identifying them for what, in their judgment at the time, might have been the best information that they have been acting on. So I don't think that we should expect that the minister will name officials who would have provided him advice for us to bring them into the foray, given that he has taken full responsibility and has expressed so and is now doing so publicly for this issue and is giving his commitment that it will not recur.
Minister Williams.
Then,
Sorry.
Three questions, Minister. Are you prepared to release the PAHO WHO standards that you said were adopted by the ministry and used to evaluate the fitness of the storage bond? That's my first question. And why was an unsigned contract released and not the full contract? So you know who signed on behalf of the ministry and who signed on behalf of Millennium Holdings Inc. Thirdly, you said that, well, all right, just those two for now, sorry.
Thank you very much. The standards, PAHO WHO, is online, but we can also, like we have made public, the report of the Cabinet Subcommittee, and in that report, that was an annex. With respect to the contract, there again, members of the media, before were given a copy of that contract. In supplying that contract to the clerk of the National Assembly, I instructed with a covering letter that a copy be made. Between that time and when the members of the National Assembly received it, apparently the last page was not found there. However, I immediately sent that page that was missing, which was notified to me by the speaker, back to this, notified by the clerk, back to the clerk.
When was that done?
I was notified of that yesterday and was sent this morning.
Because up to this morning, copies of the contract were collected from the Crown Office and we still don't have that last week.
It's there now.
perhaps you can pursue that after this press conference. Then,
Not only that, but it serves a purpose in the sense that the copies that I sent to the clerk were copies of copies of copies, and the print was actually fading. So that which I sent back this morning is from the original copy, and it is much brighter.
Well, are you prepared right now to say who signed on behalf of Millennium Holdings and who signed on behalf of the Ministry of Health?
The permanent secretary on behalf of the Ministry of Public Health,
And
Mr. Larry State.
Could you say
let's come to that.
and follow up, and then my substantive questions, who are the witnesses in the contract? And my substantive questions, sir, are how is a professional office space rented for, according to the contract, and then transition into a bond? And what does this mean for your political future in the PLC today being the start of your Congress? What are the likely implications for you in terms of maintaining your current position or even ascending to a higher position eventually?
I would love to answer the last question first, but so as not to dodge any question, that first, let's say, that copy that was sent this morning, all the witnesses that are signed to that contract will be clearly there on the contract. With respect to the bond, the professional office space being used as a bond, it's a technicality that I might not be able to answer accurately at this point in time.
If I can say though, Dennis, that the report that was submitted to Cabinet by Minister Trotman and his committee did state very clearly that they found that it is suitable for the storage at the time that they visited and inspected the facility, that it was, as based on the standards that they were given, is suitable for the storage of medical supplies and medicine.
Isn't it an anomaly that you have a professional office space being used as a bond in terms of the contract And quickly, sir, why is this deal profitable to the Guyanese people? Given we're hearing different figures compared to GPC and what you're getting here in this deal.
With my busy schedule, managing that time of the month could be very challenging. With Protex cotton surface pads, I'm dry and clean for 10 hours. With Protex, I feel relaxed and confident with their absorption, leak lock protection, odor control, and thermal technology. Protex, the protection, care, and comfort you can always depend on. Take advantage of the extra savings with 10 extra panty liners when you purchase 1-pack Protex pads. Be sure to ask for Protex pads. Enjoy the comfort and savings. Distributed by Superfoods. Call 223-1034 or 223-1035.
We needed more storage space, but we did not need, or we do not need that amount that we had available, that we were asked to pay for since the month of April. We were making every effort to save money by searching for a less expensive storage vault. Hence, we hope that the money that we can save within the shortest possible period of time, we would be in a position to have our home.
And who told Larry Singh that this property is available and he can be part of this deal? Have you sought to acquire that as part of clearing up all of the conceptions and misconceptions?
Dennis, I think that's a bit of an unfair question to ask the minister.
No, I would like to
That-
hear the
that-
minister.
but that question, no, specifically, the question of who told,
question is
who told Larry Singh, that was a question that is best, you'll agree, directed not to the minister, but to Mr. Singh. I don't think you can expect that the minister can answer.
Okay, how does the
Larry Singh
ministry
is not
identify
apologizing.
Larry?
That's a different question.
Okay, well, fair enough, an answer.
So,
How did the ministry identify this property?
Well, it's an adjusted question that,
And I still hold to my question.
how was
Yeah, who
the
told-
Linden Holdings
Yes, who
identified?
told Larry Singh that, that this, yes, the government needed a bond and this building is available?
I would not be able to say that.
And can you confirm he's a PNC member?
I can't confirm that, sir.
Minister, can you also
I'll
confirm?
say Gary,
No, I just follow up on the
Follow.
same question. Can you explain how it is that the records regarding the sale of that property came around the same time as in Larry Singh bought that property for $25 million, around the same time that the deposit was transferred from government? The documents say so. Have you spoken to his attorney?
Yes, I'm saying I would not be able to answer.
Nazima? Nazima.
A number of issues have been raised since August 8th. Is the government prepared to re-tender this contract given all those issues? And could you respond to allegations that you're actually a fall guy for somebody in the cabinet on this particular issue?
In answer to your first question, thanks for the question. There is a collective responsibility on the part of the cabinet. And every decision will have to be made at the level of cabinet. It is not a one-man decision.
But I still want to know what the cabinet is very aware of the contract. Is the cabinet prepared to re-tender for this particular contract?
As I said, that was not a decision that came from cabinet.
To re-tender.
At the moment, we do have the subcommittee recommendation, which is that an alternative facility, correct, renegotiate and an alternative facility be examined at some point in the future.
And how do you respond to being a fall guy for somebody within the cabinet who probably has personal interest in this contract?
I don't know anything about that.
A quick follow-up to the same, no, very quickly. You said an alternative contract is being looked at in the future. How far in the future? Because we're hearing talk
Well,
about a year.
there's no timeline.
No
There's no
timeline?
timeline that's
And also the.
Gordon?
No,
Let's
my
we-
final thing.
No, Gordon's been waiting along. Gordon's been waiting
No,
along.
but you said that they
Gordon,
have
most of
every
you source,
single
thank you. Dr. Norton, surely as Minister of Health, you're not walking around looking for bonds. Could you say when you first learned of this property being made available and what conversations you might have had with your permanent secretary, who would be the person doing most of the groundwork with regards to such cases? So could you say when you first learned of this property and when was the first time you may have visited it or investigated what it looks like and if it is the right property that you're looking for?
I can't say exactly when I first discussed this with the permanent secretary. You must understand that the permanent secretary is my chief accounting officer, and I do depend a lot on him or on in the office advising that area of what the remit of the ministry or the minister is. Yes, I did visit the property, and I was convinced that it was suitable for school.
Surely as part of that cabinet subcommittee probe, you would have been questioned by the ministers who were in charge of that probe. Did you at any time recommend that the government just goes over this entire bond issue from scratch, look for a new bond? Was that at any time part of your recommendation to this subcommittee that let's just do this over again?
No, sir,
Why not?
because I did not see it necessary.
Even with all the flack you've been getting and having to come now to apologize and the issues in Parliament, even after all of that, you still don't think this should go over from the top?
No, I don't think so.
So you're comfortable still with this?
I am not, but that is the reason why I'm apologizing. I'm not comfortable with it.
You're
Just to clarify.
No,
Does it-
with the whole, I'm comfortable with the bond. That is, I think it has what it takes to store the medication in a proper way. But the whole issue itself, I am not comfortable.
So you would want to go over that whole contract? Is that fair to say that if you were to do a do-over, you would want to go from scratch?
After the evaluation by the cabinet subcommittee, I will go with their evaluation and recommendation.
Which is that it be reviewed. I believe that the minister is saying that he agrees that it ought to be reviewed, but there is a necessity at the moment for the facility itself.
And yesterday you were quoted in the Standard News as saying you have learned a lesson with regards to this entire issue. What exactly would that lesson be?
One has got to do due diligence and take every possible effort to evaluate contracts and other whatever you're getting into. You've got to be extra careful.
Well, Guyana, please. Minister, why was this contract so sourced? And why didn't you look to occupy the present space in Eccles and also continue using the GPC? And you said that there will be a review of the contract. Would that have legal implications since the contract has already been signed? Would this have legal implications for the government?
If it has legal implication, which most probably it might be, we will have to deal with that. But that is a recommendation that came from the subcommittee. With respect to the usage of the bond, it's a time or not Eccles. The mere fact that that bond has been in existence since 2013, and up to very recently, we were using UGPC. It tells us without doubt that we need more space. Hence the reason for searching for that space.
So why is this
Precisely.
sole sourcing? Why didn't the tender process carry out?
We were written to by UGPC saying that from March we will have to pay that amount of money. So there was some amount of anxiety on the part of the ministry to secure another facility.
Each health institution by region and so they don't have their own source. So why not utilize this?
That is the reason why we wouldn't have need so much storage facility as that which was available at the UGPC. Because the regions now, especially since they are giving us subvention to procure their own medication, will also take into consideration, will also facilitate the storage of pharmaceuticals in the different regions.
Gary?
Yeah. Sir, you keep mentioning this urgent need for a bond as a result of the UGPC asking for a record. How did that situation come about? And you also mentioned the cost savings for using the Sussex Street bond. I'm trying to understand how is it a saving when UGPC's proposal is per square feet as much as 5 times less. In this contract that we're reading right now, we're seeing additional expense in addition to the 12.5 million, lights, water, security. How much is the ministry going to pay Life Savings Holding for? What's the monthly fee, not just rental, the total monthly fee, and how is it a saving over UGPC?
If you're going to rent space that you don't need, does not make sense.
How much space do you need? And how much space does Living Holding have?
What I can say offhand is that we do not need the space, all of the space that UGPC was offering us. And the space that we're having from Linden Holding, we think it's sufficient for us.
Which is how much?
I won't be able to say the exact figure.
But
You
you're
can
still
provide
paying
the square
more.
footage. We'll provide the
Paying
square
more
footage.
when you compare.
When you compare the amount, if you're buying a larger quantity, then obviously you will pay more for an item that you're buying a smaller quantity of.
But UGPC isn't renting its entire bond per se. You get the amount,
We
how
don't
much
know
of the
that.
space you
No,
need.
that is not true, sir.
Minister,
Okay, secondly, how did this emergency situation come about?
Because we have changed from a situation where one company was having 90% of the supplies of
But
pharmaceuticals.
this had nothing to do with storage.
It has so much to do with storage. It has so much, and that is the reason why the new GPC built that facility or was using that facility. Now we don't need so much storage.
Dennis, I'll take you next. You do have an outstanding question. I don't know if you're pursuing it, the issue of political pressure.
Yes,
And if the ministers.
Minister, in addition to that question, could you say whether anyone will be disciplined as a result of this situation with respect to the bond? And then you talked about the need for due diligence. Looking back now, what would you have liked to see we've done differently in all of this, in keeping with that whole concept and notion of due diligence?
Not only what I would have liked to see done, but what I will ensure to see done in the future is that I will personally go into details in all these kinds of operations, much more than I have been before,
In what areas?
in all areas, even if I might be guilty of micromanagement.
And disciplinary action? Everyone will be
I
disciplined.
take the responsibility.
And the political implications for you in the Congress that begins today.
All my political life, I have given of my best to the People's National Congress before. I have been in the forefront, in the front line, in the trenches. I've traversed all of Guyana, whether it's from Whitewater Creek in Region 1 to Sand Creek in Region 9, or from Wilson Creek in Region 6 to Bamboo Creek in Region 8. I've been there over the years, practically 23 years in the opposition, and I've worked for the party. My track record will show my comrades that my intentions are noble, that in no way would I jeopardize the party knowingly. And I expect that my comrades who have supported me over the years will judge me by my work and give me their support.
Will you cause some distress to the administration?
I admitted that. I apologize for that.
And sir, could you say whether you've been able to ascertain whether Mr. Anand Nandilal is one of Mr. Singh's lawyers?
No, sir.
No, he's not a lawyer, or no, he can't ascertain.
No, I can't ascertain.
You can't
Do you trust your staff down there in the Ministry of Health? Because you would have taken over as minister just over a year ago. Many of them would have been persons who had worked for years, in some cases decades, under the previous government. Do you really trust them when it comes to your management of that ministry?
I would just like to repeat what I said before, that we have thousands of hard-working health service workers whose dedication is an untold story and one which easily goes unnoticed.
That is a written response, sir. What is your real
That is my
response?
response. I am saying this as it is written because that is the way I feel.
So you trust them?
You know, you trust no one.
Trust but verify.
Sir, there are calls from a lot of persons in the political sphere, outside of the political arena, even persons within the coalition and the party who believe that you ought to be fired. What would you say to convince them that you ought to be given a second chance on this issue? A second chance as Minister of Health. You should be allowed to continue on as Minister of Health. If you were to speak to them right now, what would you say to convince them that you ought not to be fired and you should not resign?
Gordon, just to note that that was the first question that
Well, that's it again, because we have clear answer.
if the minister would like to add to his response.
As part of the answer that I gave to Mr. Cabral about why I think my political colleagues, my party colleagues will support me, I will use that to answer your question. That I work diligently. I admit that I don't know it all, that I have an open door policy. I am willing to accept advice, suggestion, recommendation, and even though I've been in the political arena for the longest while, most of it has been in the opposition, and it's just over 12 months that I'm in an entirely different situation. It's much different when you're in government than when you're in the opposition. And I can only get better. And I want that opportunity to make myself better, make the performance of my duty, the execution of my remit better.
Mr.
You
Norton,
can begin to wrap up.
yes, Mr. Norton, as someone who literally walks the streets of Georgetown and other parts of the country on a regular basis, one of the things every day, and thankfully too,
And it shows.
One of the things that I hear on the ground is that people are saying that this bond issue is symbolic of what had happened in the past with the previous administration, and it's really a flip side of the same coin. Why did the government just decide to save face, retain some of its credibility, scrap the deal altogether?
That was a decision that was made by cabinet.
Yes, that was the decision. Why? Why did you look at the political capital that you were losing on the ground and make the decision to scrap the contract to come up with a same-facing measure?
Dennis, that will also have legal implications. There's a
I'd like to hear the
contract
minister
implication.
respond, please.
I'm just
As
adding
he brought him to the
his
press
response.
conference. Yes, sir.
I've lost the sense of the question.
No, why did the government just scrap the contract altogether, given all that's been said on the ground, that the government's attitude towards this whole bond issue is a flip side of the same coin in relation to the PPC and all the allegations of corruption?
As I said before, it was a collective decision, and they would have had their reasons.
But you were part of that collective, so I'm asking why did the collective body take the decision to scrap the contract?
I would be responsible for the collective.
You're looking for a place to call your own, a place to unwind and relax in style. The Italian Grill, where friends gather, enjoy fine wine or a cocktail while dining in our casual atmosphere. It's easy to make any event special when you're among friends, serving lunch and dinner and using only the freshest ingredients. The Italian Grill. It's time to make it your own.
And just to add to that again, that there are legal implications when a contract is in place as well, which is a very important issue in response to
So the review is hardly going to bring about any change.
Well, I think that the subcommittee has made its recommendation that the contract needs to be reviewed, but it may not be legally advisable that it be scrapped because there are repercussions to taking such action, which can have you tied up in court for
So
a very
could you
long
explain,
time.
Minister, what will this review entail?
I'm the first to admit that in the legal arena, I am neither here nor there. My profession has been something entirely different. But in cabinet, in the subcommittee, we have legal brains there, and
A
their
quick clarification, is it renegotiate or review?
Review.
Review. So then,
Gary,
look at, you mentioned earlier in the cabinet, the subcommittee said renegotiate the contract.
The
I
report
made-
was out in the public.
Right, but either way, if you renegotiate the contract or you scrap the contract, it has legal implications. So why not scrap the contract in the interest, like Chabal said, of maintaining credibility of the coalition?
as I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm aware that that action will have severe legal implications. It will have to be it will have to be considered. It will have to
Minister, are
be
you willing to
that's all I'm
concede that the government has lost some face in this matter in the eyes of the public? Are you willing to concede that?
I have, personally.
No, not you. Yeah, but the government.
I wouldn't want to answer that.
Minister Norton, what would you say to the political opposition which still plans to take you, or table a motion to take you to the Privilege Committee?
As a member of parliament, I'm a beneficiary of privileges of parliament. And if I breach those privileges, then there are recourses that
Did you breach those privileges?
I came here to.
Just want to take it.
Anyways,
Final question, Gary.
The press, in addition to the 12.5 million rental, how much will the ministry, either through the ministry or Georgetown Public Hospital, have to pay over for this facility, lights, water, security, everything else? And sir, if we could come quickly to the standards that you speak about. Can you say who or what department, who provided this substantiation to say that this thing meets these standards? Because I can see, based on the WHO PAHO standards that I have seen, down to the placement of the racks in the barn do not meet the standards. The use of the smaller AC units, they don't meet the standards. The use of carpets on the floor, that's not recommended. How is it that you determine that this is PAHO WHO standard?
That same documentation that we made available to you That is what we use to guide our.
Who looked and saw the standards and says, well, that this met the standard? Which department?
That facility was visited by the subject.
Just follow up.
But 3 lawyers determined that the bond meets health standards?
We had a guide that we used.
No, I think what he's saying is that the subsequent to that, the subcommittee visited and also verified that based on the standards provided them that they,
I'm trying to figure out who
in the
said-
initial
Yes.
process.
How did you determine that this thing meets standard, the WHO standards? Because as I said,
Those standards speaks for itself.
But who are your experts? It's like you were saying you're the health minister, you can't talk law, but how can the lawyers determine health standards for a bond or sanitation standards? So who are your health experts or your environmental experts?
We prepared to invite the press to the bond.
Sir, WHO PAHO standard says that the racks need to be at least 3 feet away from the wall, 3 feet away from the ceiling. That's not the case in
You've
here.
been there?
You've released photos. I've seen the photos.
Let us.
The use of the refrigerators, they're not recommended for drug storage. None of the AC, the central AC, that also does not meet the standards.
Sir,
What are you
And we're
using
still
your
to hear the
arguments
prices, the total price.
on? I wouldn't be able to give you the total prices of the bond.
The ministry must have an idea of what they
They
budgeted
do
to
have.
pay for it.
They do have. I don't have the.
How much more than 12.5 million?
If I had known, sir, I would have let you know.
Final question from the follow-up.
How do you justify 3,000 square foot for $12.5 million, in addition to other things overhead costs?
Did we not say before, if you are going to divide the cost by the square foot, you will certainly come up with something much more
Space in
valuable.
the building is approximately 3,000 square feet.
That's
I think
right.
that's very small.
But we do not need that large space that UGPC has.
But for that amount, for 12.5, that's like 4,000 US per month, which you can pay for a bourgeoisie apartment in Manhattan.
We have that bourgeoisie apartment here.
So how do you justify it?
I think the minister has explained repeatedly, you may not accept it, but the minister has provided a response at least on 3 occasions in this forum as to what his explanation and his response to that question is. So I don't know that we can get much further by asking that question over and over.
Minister, I have a copy of the apology you did not to the speaker.
Yes, no, sir.
Was a written apology given to the speaker?
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna
We have a copy.
I think that
It was almost the same that I
what the minister read.
which was,
It's almost the same then, wasn't it?
Can we have something to replicate for the Guyanese public?
what
minister presented.
What is meant
Would you have a
by
copy of the letter of apology to be delivered to the speaker?
Yes.
that letter, of course,
So we're
But we are
basically,
told that you did not deliver an apology to the speaker, a written apology.
if it's not there at this moment, then sure, it will be there.
so there is no apology at
There's
this
no written
moment.
apology currently? You
Yes,
just
there
said
is.
on a written
No,
apology.
did you
Give it
submit a written apology to the
This morning.
speaker?
Yes
This
or no?
morning? Yes or no, sir?
No.
No? We just asked.
When is this apology going to?
We're in the
And
process
why
of-
wasn't it submitted this
We
morning?
gotta make some adjustments.
Adjustment.
Can you say what are
apology.
those adjustments? Can you say what are those adjustments?
Just start them.
I think that the minister met with the speaker at 11 o'clock. He had an extensive half-hour meeting. They had a discussion, and the process will be concluded. They broke because we had this 11:30 appointment. The process will be concluded at the end of this press conference, which there being no other questions. I thank you. And that's-
So just for clarity, Even though we got the press release saying that an apology will be handed over this morning, I think it up for that did not take place.
The minister met with the speaker at 11 o'clock. They had a meeting which lasted for an hour. They broke for minister to come to this press conference, and the process will be concluded after this press conference.
With an apology being handed over.
Yeah, with all the things that need to be done will be concluded. Minister came, broke the meeting to come to the press conference. It will be concluded as we conclude this press conference.
But you led us to believe that they should get it.
That's what you said when you came initially. That's what you said when you first sat down, that an apology has been made.
Minister broke to come to this press conference from his meeting with the speaker.
With all due respect, Mr. President, when the minister came, he said that an apology has been given to the speaker.
The minister said that?
Or just minutes ago, he said a written apology was given. Yes. A few minutes later, he said a written apology was not given. We're trying to get clarity on why is he so inconsistent? Why is the minister inconsistent?
No, I think the minister has clarified that at the end of this press conference, the process will be concluded. It's just a matter of timing, that's all. It was 11 o'clock that his meeting was with the speaker.
Mr. Kennedy, my questions are directed to the minister.
No, but I'm trying to explain to you
You're speaking
that
for
it's
the minister.
no, I'm not. I'm just because you said to me what I said. I will do that. But I'm offering. You have you've said to me that I said something which I'm clarifying. That the meeting was at 11 o'clock. It was broken to have this press conference. The process will be concluded after the press conference. I'm not denying the minister an option. I'm just clarifying.
But you're informing the minister not to say directly.
But directly, minister, you minutes ago you said a written apology was given. Yes. When you were pressed for it, you said a written apology was not given. That you have adjustments to make to that apology before it's handed over to the speaker. Why are you being inconsistent with this?
It is not being inconsistent. I seek audience with the speaker to give him a written apology, but because, which I have here with me, but because I did not follow the right procedure, this would be placed in an envelope and
and which will be done very shortly.
Today,
yes. Today, at the end of this press conference.
What process? Have a copy of what will be handed to the speaker?
I was advised to put it in an envelope and hand it over.
Seriously?
So the envelope.
So the envelope is all that's missing.
Oh, and Minister, could we get a commitment
Thank you
from
very
you?
much.
Could we get a commitment from you to provide the media with precisely how much the ministry has budgeted for each month, in addition to the rental, the 12.5 million rental? How much has the ministry been budgeted for this facility? What's it going to cost the ministry in addition to the 12.5 million?
I can give that to you, sir.
Those will be budgeted amounts. Minister will seek from his permanent secretary and come back. Thank you very much.